Midweek hump day, and we come on the air top of the hour with the heat turned up on the Secretary of Defense. A new report says Pete Hegseth may have put American lives at risk in some of his group chats as he faces more scrutiny about attacks on an alleged drug boat near Venezuela. We are live at the White House. And President Trump just moments ago again slamming Somalia as his immigration crackdown now lands in New Orleans and Minneapolis. We'll show you what went down when one man wouldn't tell agents where he was born. Then the doctor who sold ketamine to Matthew Perry before his overdose appeared in court today. We'll tell you what the judge handed down as a sentence. Plus, the push to solve an 11-year-old mystery. Why a U.S. company is going to once again search for the wreckage of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. And fanning the flames of history, the Olympic torch about to arrive in Italy. Will show you some of the iconic sights the relay will pass through ahead of the Winter Games. That's coming up later in our newscast. Good day. Happy Wednesday. I am Tom Costello in for Hallie, and we start with pressure building on Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth after the release of a new report from the Pentagon Inspector General. And that report says Hegseth put American troops' lives at risk by sharing secret military information in a group chat back in March. That according to two people who've now read the Inspector General's report. A redacted version expected to be released publicly tomorrow. The revelation comes as Secretary Hegseth faces growing scrutiny from Congress over those two strikes on an alleged drug boat near Venezuela back in September. Hegseth says he did not stay to watch the second strike, which reportedly killed two people who initially survived the attack. Hegseth told reporters he did not see survivors after the first strike, citing the, quote, fog of war. So you're seeing the footage right there, the first strike anyway, and the president saying in just the past hour or so, he's open to releasing video of the second strike as well.
You released video of that first boat strike on September 2nd, but not the second video. Will you release video of that strike so that the American people can see for themselves what happened?
I don't know what they have, but whatever they have, we'd certainly release, no problem. You know, we stopped every boat we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives.
Right. NBC's Garrett Haig is on the story, covering it from the White House. And Garrett, read the tea leaves for us here. Any sign that Hegseth is losing any of the trust, any of the support from the president?
It's always hard to know for sure, Tom, but it doesn't look like it, at least not publicly. Right now, the only statement that we've gotten from the White House beyond what we heard from the president in the last hour is a statement actually from the Pentagon press secretary claiming that the report on this Signal Gate episode completely exonerates the secretary. I think this stretches the definitions of the words both total and exoneration here, because it's really nothing in this report suggests that the secretary did not do anything wrong. On the boat strikes, you also heard from the president in the last hour suggesting that he did not support the second strike killing additional people, only that the boat itself was destroyed. That could put Hegseth out on a limb by himself, but this president has been loath to sort of cut off his own people when they're under attack from his own enemies. And by that I mean when they're receiving pressure from Democrats or from the media. If Hegseth is in trouble, I don't expect him to kind of face any consequences from the president in this moment. I think it would probably happen later on when our focus is somewhere else.
You know, we've had a lot of talk over the last few days about the possibility, lawmakers, both sides of the aisle, saying that this could have been a war crime if, in fact, they targeted and killed two survivors from that first attack. Anything likely to come of that talk?
Look, the opportunity for investigation here is huge, Tom. Over the course of this administration, we've seen a very compliant Republican-controlled Congress. Here, you have the House and Senate Armed Services Committees all saying they want to be briefed, they want to investigate, they want to look into this more closely. They're going to get at least some compliance from the White House. The fact that the president just said he's open to releasing the entirety of this tape, I think could be extremely significant. I also think this is kind of a save your documents moment for the White House. And by that, I mean, if Democrats were to somehow take control of either chamber of Congress, in next year's midterms. This is exactly the kind of episode, really this entire Caribbean drug war, this undeclared war that the president calls it, is really ripe for investigation by Congress down the line. So it's a long way of saying I think we should continue to follow this closely because Congress will, and we'll see how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Okay, Garrett Haig up on at the White House, rather. Garrett, thank you very much. All right, now to the latest flashpoints in the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. With immigration enforcement operations launched in New Orleans and in Minneapolis today. In the Twin Cities, senior law enforcement officials are confirming to NBC News that agents are on the ground for a large-scale operation, and that includes the arrest of some Somali immigrants. These latest rounds and raids come after President Trump denigrated Somalis in Minnesota during a cabinet meeting Tuesday and again in just the past hour.
So Somalia is considered by many to be the worst country on earth. I don't know. I haven't been there. I won't be there anytime soon, I hope. But what Somalia and what the Somalian people have done to Minnesota is not even believable. It's not even believable. And a lot of it starts with the governor. A lot of it starts with Barack Hussein Obama, because that's when people started coming in.
The Trump administration just today said it's pausing immigration applications for people from 19 countries that it deems high risk. And here's the list of those countries, everything from Haiti to Myanmar. Also today in New Orleans, agents are targeting, quote, criminal illegal aliens. This video shows a man at a Lowe's parking lot in New Orleans being detained after refusing to tell a Border Patrol agent where he was born.
I won't answer any more questions.
Okay. Can you put handcuffs on him, please? It is a table, all right?
Let's get to NBC's Priscilla Thompson right now. She's on the ground there in Louisiana. Priscilla, what do we know about this latest enforcement action on the ground there in New Orleans? And I'm wondering, how are the locals reacting?
Yeah, Tom, many locals in this community where we are reacting in fear. That goes for residents, business owners. They are scared. And just to give you a bit of context, we're in Kenner, Louisiana. This is a city that has the highest Latino population in the state. We are in one of those Latino neighborhoods where literally just 2 minutes up the road, there was an arrest and a detention at a Burlington coat factory in a parking lot there. And we're seeing these videos come out at Lowe's, at Home Depot in this greater New Orleans area, and it is sending a ripple effect of this fear. We spoke to an immigration attorney about what she's been hearing from her clients and just people in general. As she says, her phone has just been ringing off the hook. I want to play a little bit of what she had to say.
It's chaotic right now. Our phones are ringing off the hook. Clients do not know what to do. I had a client yesterday who told me, unfortunately, he was going to temporarily leave the state for a month or two to go to another city to avoid getting detained by ICE.
Wow. And she told me that client said that there were multiple people in their apartment complex who were planning to do the same thing until this operation was over. I also spoke to a woman, Rocio, who was in this neighborhood because she's been picking up people's kids and dropping them off at school because those people who are undocumented immigrants are scared to leave their homes. She's dropping off meals to them. So that is what the feeling is in this neighborhood as people are watching these arrests play out. Tom?
And we've seen this in other cities across the country, right? Across the country, many people have done exactly that. They've either left or they are hunkered down at home and trying to keep their heads low.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're seeing this play out here in New Orleans. You also have what is going on there in Minneapolis, St. Paul, which has a large Somali community. And obviously, we heard the president with his comments about that community earlier today and also yesterday at the end of his cabinet meeting, even though the administration has said that they are not specifically targeting those immigrants. But it certainly appears that way to some people who are living in that area and seeing how all of this is playing out. And I think think that is the other interesting thing about Louisiana. It does not have a particularly high immigrant population, particularly a Latino immigrant population. And so it'll be interesting to see how these raids continue to happen. So far, we have seen these detentions happening with only a few people in parking lots and on rooftops and places like this, not some of those large-scale raids that we saw in places like Chicago. Tom?
Yeah, Priscilla Thompson on the ground there in Louisiana. Thank you, Priscilla. You know, a lot of the country is in severe winter weather at this hour, and a new Arctic blast is about to drive temperatures even lower. Check out the Denver-Boulder area, where folks are dealing with snowfall that we're told could reach 8 inches in some parts of Colorado. One SUV even needed a tow as icy roads and low visibility created hazardous conditions. That's not good. On the west side of Metro Denver, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department reports more than 50 vehicles sliding off the roads there. Yep, I've driven there. It's icy in the winter. Bill Cairns is here to track it all down. Bill, we saw some snow, but the big deal is the cold, right? That's even headed our way here to the mid-Atlantic.
Yeah, unusually harsh, Tom, for this time of year. If this was the middle of winter, we'd be like, okay, no big deal. But for this early in the season, this will be cold. And because we have that snow cover on the ground from the last 2 snowstorms, that's going to make it extra cold. So, you know, it sounds like a beautiful place, Big Trout Lake up here in Canada. But right now it feels like -41 in Big Trout Lake. The reason I'm saying this is the air mass that is going to sweep southwards over the Great Lakes, eventually the Ohio Valley into the Northeast on Friday. It's going to warm up a little bit by the time it gets to us. But, you know, you could see the Arctic origins of this air. That cold front has already moved through Chicago. It's going to slice through the Great Lakes tonight, heading through the Northeast during your day tomorrow, and then the cold air will just drain in. It's pretty short-lived. It's only here for 1 or 2 days. But for Thursday and Friday morning, we should see well over maybe 2 to 3 dozen record lows. So that's the coldest temperature on those days ever recorded. And some of these things go back about 150 years. So some of them are long periods of record. Des Moines tomorrow morning, -10. That's the temperature. Wind chill feels like -17. You know, South Dakota, -13. Champaign and Chicago in the single digits, wind chill in the negative numbers. It's not going to be quite as brutal in the Northeast, but we'll be about 10 in New York and 20 in Philadelphia. And then finally, you were mentioning that snow. It continues, but in Denver, it's just about over with. Anyone heading southwards down I-5, you're still going to get an additional couple inches, especially as you head closer to areas of New Mexico. But, Tom, decent little snowstorm. Many areas in the downtown Denver area, right around 6 inches, get to the foothills, anywhere between 8 to 10.
Yeah, but this was their first snow of the season. I mean, really late this year, so kind of interesting. Yep. And the ski areas are demanding snow. Bill Cairns, thanks very much. Let's go further west. A judge in California today sentencing a doctor who sold ketamine to Friends star Matthew Perry just weeks before his overdose to more than 2 years in prison. The doctor is Salvador Plasencia, and here he is arriving at court in Los Angeles today. He's the first of 5 people to be sentenced in Perry's death, but he is not accused of selling the dose that killed the actor back in October of 2023. Perry was taking a surgical anesthetic, ketamine, legally as a treatment for depression, but when his regular doctor would not rather prescribe more amounts that Perry wanted, he turned to Plasencia, who admitted to illegally selling it to Perry, even though he knew the actor was struggling with addiction. According to court documents, Plasencia texted another doctor that Perry was a moron who could be exploited for money. Perry's family provided a victim impact statement that read in part, this doctor conspired to break his most important vows. Asking for what? So he could feed on the vulnerability of our son. NBC's Camilla Bernal is outside of court right now in L.A. Camilla, how does this compare to what prosecutors were hoping to get?
Hey, Tom, so this actually lines up more with what the prosecution wanted versus what the defense wanted. The prosecution in this case wanted 36 months in prison. Then defense, they were asking for 1 day. The judge giving this doctor or former doctor 30 years, so 2.5 years plus 2 years probation and a $6,000 fine. It was a really emotional day in court because the family was able to speak and give their impact statements. So a lot of his sisters, his stepsisters, spoke during this hearing, saying how much they loved Matthew Perry and what he meant to the family. His youngest sibling also saying that this was someone who shouldn't have treated as a celebrity like a plastic doll. She was saying he's a human, he has a family. And when his mother went up to speak to the judge, she also spoke directly to Salvador Plasencia, telling him to look at her as a mother. And she said, look, you took the oath to be a doctor and you failed completely at all of this. And then again repeated, look at me as a doctor. And he simply nodded, essentially agreeing with everything that this family was saying to him, Tom.
You know, I think that's one of the big messages that came out of this tragedy, and that is that Matthew Perry was not the actor that he appeared in Friends. He's an actor. And Placencia is the first of 5 in this case, right? So who comes up next?
Yeah, so next for sentencing is the so-called ketamine queen and the other doctor involved in all of this. And then in January, you have the 2 other defendants, which also includes his personal assistant. But what the judge in this case said was different from the other doctor and maybe from the others involved in this case was that Placencia had that direct relationship with Matthew Perry. He had that patient-doctor relationship. And what the judge said in this case was that despite this relationship, he did not act upon what he should have been acting, and that is why the prosecution was calling him a drug dealer in a white coat. And the judge essentially agreeing with them and saying that, yes, this was a doctor who was essentially just looking for money, looking for $55,000, which is what Matthew Perry paid him for that ketamine. But again, this is the first of 4 others, so we'll see how this all develops as this sentence hearings continue. Tom.
Okay. Camilla Bernal in L.A., thank you very much. For the first time, we're getting a look inside Epstein Island as lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are asking for a status update on the actual Epstein files. These are the never-before-seen videos showing the private island where Jeffrey Epstein brought his rich and powerful friends and connections. House Dems on the Oversight Committee released the images showing the expansive grounds of what essentially looks like a luxury resort, replete with multiple rooms and bathrooms, one of them with what looks like kind of a dentist chair in one of the rooms with masks on the wall, and another inside the room that looks like a study with words like power and deception written on the wall. NBC's Sahil Kapoor is on Capitol Hill. Sahil, what new are we supposed to take away from these images here?
Well, Tom, the significance of these images is not exactly clear. Even the House Democrats who released them today didn't specify that. We had Oversight Committee's ranking Democrat Robert Garcia say in a statement that these images were disturbing. He said the purpose of the release is to ensure public transparency in this investigation and to help fill out what he called the full picture of Epstein's horrific crimes. Now, you mentioned some of the photos. One of them showed that blackboard with redactions to some words. We don't know what those words are. There are other words that we can read that appear to say power, deception. One says music. There's another photo shows a room appears to be a dentist office setup with masks of men's faces hanging on the wall. Again, it's hard to know what to read into that. I actually asked the Republican chairman of this committee, James Comer, about the images. He said he's seen them. He doesn't understand what Democrats are implying and why they chose to release these. And he said he's more interested in seeing the bank records that this committee has apparently obtained from J.P. Morgan and Deutsche Bank. Now, meanwhile, Tom, we've also got a separate story today. 5 lawmakers spanning both parties in both chambers have sent a letter to the Attorney General Pam Bondi demanding a status update in the form of a briefing no later than this Friday as to whether the Justice Department intends to comply with the law's 30-day timeline to release the Epstein files. That is, according to the law that President Trump signed recently that overwhelmingly passed Congress, Tom.
And Epstein's accomplice in all of this, Ghislaine Maxwell, who is serving time for essentially facilitating child entrapment and child trafficking, she's planning on filing a petition for release, at least that according to a letter filed by her attorney, right?
Yeah, there is a document that we're looking at where Ms. Maxwell's attorney indicates to the court, to the Southern District of New York, that they'll be filing a habeas petition, that she doesn't take a position on the government's request to unseal the grand jury transcripts, but says, quote, releasing the grand jury materials from her case, which contain untested and proven allegations, would create undue prejudice so severe that it would foreclose the possibility of a fair retrial should Ms. Maxwell's habeas petition succeed, end quote. So we may be seeing some potentially unforeseen consequences of this law, Tom.
Sahil, thank you very much. Sahil Kapoor up on Capitol Hill. Families of the victims from the devastating UPS cargo plane crash have filed lawsuits today demanding answers for their loved ones' deaths. This was the scene last month, you may recall, when a UPS plane went down in Louisville, Kentucky, killing 3 crew members and 11 people on the ground. the critical piece of evidence, the left engine that came off the plane while it was trying to take off, falling to the ground. And now families for 2 of the victims are suing UPS, GE, that's the engine manufacturer, and Boeing. Of course, Boeing bought McDonnell Douglas. McDonnell Douglas made the plane. And they say that they showed a, quote, disregard for the lives and the safety of others. The sister of Trinidad Chavez, a 37-year-old mother who died in the crash, shared an emotional testimony at a press conference today.
Trina was a sister, mother, and friend to everyone. But she was also much more than that. We're trusting our lawyers to do what it takes to get answers and secure the future of Nana's babies. And we intend to stand up for Nana and fight for her however long it takes.
Reps for UPS and GE, again, the engine maker, tell us they can't comment on a pending litigation, and they also can't comment as an investigation is underway with the government involved, but they fully support the NTSB investigation. NBC's Kathy Park is covering this for us. And Kathy, walk us through what these families are seeking here.
Yeah, Tom, so the complaints have been filed on behalf of the families of Angela Anderson, who was shopping at a business nearby at the time of the crash, and Trinidad Chavez, who was an employee working at Grade A Auto Parts, and we heard from her sister just there. Well, today, their attorneys said the lawsuit was filed for a couple of reasons. First of all, accountability. They want to know exactly what happened. They also want reform, so this type of tragedy never happens again. And of course, they want justice for those victims. Here's more from today's press conference outlining this lawsuit. Take a listen.
We believe that the failures that led to this crash were failures that could have been prevented, that should have been prevented. And this plane should never have been airworthy to be in the air that day. And this crash was preventable. And we hope to find all of the reasons why it was preventable.
And Tom, you mentioned there are several defendants named in this lawsuit, but when it comes to UPS, the complaint reads in part, defendant UPS negligently, recklessly, wantonly, carelessly, maliciously, and or unlawfully failed to exercise reasonable care in the maintenance, inspection, repair, and or operation of the MD-11F aircraft. And Tom, it is worth noting, in addition to the federal investigation that is now underway by the NTSB, the attorney said they would be launching their own independent investigation, so they'll be seeking documents that are not publicly available and other records related to the aircraft, and also talking to experts as well.
Yeah, the MD-11 remains grounded, and the FAA has ordered inspections, and so right now they're not flying at all with the other cargo carriers. Kathy Park, thanks very much. Tonight, a new report shows that private companies shed jobs overall last month, and what's raising concern here is where those jobs were lost. ADP, the payroll processing company, found companies with fewer than 50 employees lost about 120,000 jobs, and we're talking, mom and pop shops and Main Street companies, small firms, but while big companies actually added 90,000 workers. Wall Street actually liked the news today. The markets closed higher, in part because investors are thinking that today's numbers will increase the chances of an interest rate cut when the Fed meets next week. Let's bring in NBC's Brian Chung. Yet another case of what's good news on or bad news on Main Street may be perceived as good news on Wall Street, Brian. It seems counterintuitive, but is this sort of latest indication on the economy what's working for big business and the wealthy may not be helping the folks who are just trying to get by day by day?
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. And to your point, this is an example of Main Street not being the same as Wall Street. And if we're talking about what's happening on Main Street, it's a lot of these small businesses that are taking it on the chin. Again, this is a weird economy where with these rising costs and with issues around affordability, those families that are due to well, where they have strong income, they are among the wealthiest in America, well, they're the ones that are probably driving a lot of the consumer spending. And Moody's Analytics had a recent report suggesting that, yes, it's the top 10% of earners that are accounting for half of all consumer spending. The other half is coming from the rest of America. So that is something that's definitely having a different impact on different types of businesses. Obviously, a lot of those large companies that are conglomerates that sell a lot of luxury goods, they might be doing well in that type of economy. But these small businesses that are maybe now feeling the pressure of increased tariffs, which, as we know, make it more expensive for the importing companies, which are American companies, to pay their bills. Well, that's going to lead to bankruptcies. And we actually saw that from a recent Bloomberg report, suggesting that a specific type of bankruptcy, what they call Subchapter 5, has gone up to a record. So that is certainly a concern here, Tom, as we do see these small businesses taking it on the chin in this economy.
Okay, so then what does that mean then for consumers? What does it say about where consumers are spending their money or maybe not spending their money right now?
Yeah, well, something that we're hearing a lot about is the concept of trading down. Of course, when it comes to American families, when you're faced with this situation where things are more expensive, you can't choose to not have dinner on the table, but can you make certain substitutes, substituting some of those proteins or some of those meats for beans, perhaps? That is something that we're seeing Americans do. And another example of this is for holiday shopping. You can see how people would want something under the tree. It's not like you can have nothing under the tree for Christmas or for the holidays, but you might try to buy cheaper gifts. And for that reason, we're seeing retailers like Five Below knocking it out of the park. They just announced earnings in the last few hours, and we saw their net sales topping over $1 billion. That's up over 14%. I think Five Below is one of these kind of discount names that gets forgotten in the names of like Dollar General, Dollar Tree. Again, because of inflation, maybe $5 is the new mark we need to be thinking about here. But it's those discount retailers that are benefiting from Americans making these trade downs to make sure that they can have the spending that they desire, especially around this holiday time. Tom.
You know, Brian, I just read the other day that Hamburger Helper is back. And it is a recession indicator. People buy Hamburger Helper to fill up their kids' bellies when they may be trying to cut back.
That's right. All you need is ground beef, and it's a cheap option to feed your families in bulk.
Brian Chung, thanks very much. Appreciate it. Coming up from us, a race against time across Asia today with hundreds still missing after those devastating floods. We'll have a report from on the ground in Sri Lanka. Plus, a days-long manhunt officially ending in Atlanta. How neighbors helped catch an inmate who escaped. We're back. In Massachusetts today, prosecutors are focusing on some gruesome evidence in the murder trial for a man accused of killing his wife. So here's one of the items investigators found that belonged to Anna Walsh, a stained bathrobe stained with this reddish-brown kind of substance. In another trash bag, a hammer, wire snips, a hatchet, and a hacksaw also stained. Prosecutors say Brian Walsh, in court there, planned it all. The DA wants to convince the jury in this trial that Walsh is the killer, and he did it for his wife's $2.7 million insurance policy, life insurance policy, for which he was the sole beneficiary. But here's what's really odd. Walsh has already pleaded guilty to dismembering his wife's body and lying to police, but he's fighting the first-degree murder charge he's facing in the trial. His defense says their client did not kill his wife. They say that she had a sudden, unexplained death while she was in bed after a New Year's Eve celebration, which sent then Walsh into a panic. Robert Goulston from our NBC station in Boston is joining us, and he's been following all of this, and he's been in court today. Robert, a lot of today's testimony focused on that evidence in those trash bags and the life insurance policy, right?
Exactly, Tom. And what's so interesting about this case is a lot of times you don't have this, is where the prosecution and defense are actually on the same page with a lot of the facts. They, as we know, Brian Walsh has admitted that he lied to investigators after he dismembered his wife's body and disposed of it. So now they're trying to figure out if he actually killed her. That's what the jury has to decide. Well, today, for the first time, we're seeing a lot of the circumstantial evidence that connects him to Anna Walsh's dismembered body, what they found after in a trash receptacle near Brian Walsh's mother's house nearby Boston. So now they're trying to put that all together and paint a picture of exactly what was happening after Anna went missing. And of course, the defense's side of the story is they say she died in her sleep that night, and he panicked, and he was just trying to get rid of the body to try to make sure that he wasn't charged with murder. But that was not the case, of course.
I mean, honestly, you know, I think an outsider would say this really kind of sounds absurd, right? Why not call 911? But he has already pleaded guilty to dismembering his wife, lying to police. What do we expect to hear next that could speak to the allegations that this was, in fact, premeditated?
Well, Tom, one of the biggest motivations that they are saying, the prosecution, is that this all stems from an affair with a realtor who sold Anna Walsh the condo down in Washington, D.C., where she was working. Now, the prosecution is saying that this affair is what actually triggered what happened. So tomorrow we are expecting to hear from William Fastow. He is the person that prosecution saying that Anna Walsh did have the affair with, and there's some text messages on New Year's Eve, apparently, that were sent between the two parties the night that this all happened. So that could be a big factor in proving the motive in this case. And of course, the prosecution does not have to prove a motive, but they're trying to connect the dots for the jury to make sure that they have a better understanding what may have fueled this in their theory of what happened in this case. Tom?
Robert Goulston, on a balmy night in Boston, I don't think that's true. I think it's freezing in Boston, and you're standing there without a coat just to act tough, but you look good. All right, Robert.
And I get my
Thanks
iced
very
coffee
much.
coming too.
Okay, good. Thanks very much. All right, let's get you over now to the 5 things our team thinks you may want to know about this evening. Number 1, NATO allies are today reaffirming their support for Ukraine. The message comes just after those talks between the U.S. and Russian delegations met without a breakthrough. The NATO Secretary General even taking a shot at Russian President Putin.
We have seen him in military clothes, dressed like a soldier at the front, but not at the front. It was quite far from the front.
That's Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO. He also told reporters that President Trump's efforts, are central to ending the war. Number 2, police have thwarted what they believe was a planned shooting at the University of Delaware. A 25-year-old student was arrested after a traffic stop. Police say they discovered a gun, dozens of rounds of ammo, and body armor in his car, and the suspect may have been targeting an employee at the university's police department. The student now in federal custody. Number 3, an update to a story we've been following. That days-long manhunt for a Georgia inmate is over. Remember, he escaped from a hospital on Monday and stole multiple cars while evading police. He was tracked down this morning after people in the neighborhood called 911 about somebody banging on their doors. Police are still investigating how he was able to escape in the first place. Number 4, potential metal fragments in shredded cheese setting off a voluntary recall. The FDA says more than 250,000 cases of the Great Lakes Cheese Company product were distributed to at least 30 states. The cheese is sold under store-owned brands like Good and Gather, Great Value, and Happy Farms. The sales date back to October. Great Lakes Cheese Company did not get back to NBC News for comment. Number 5, it's that time of year again. The one and only Rockefeller Center Christmas tree going up tonight, lighting up tonight, I should say. Reba McEntire hosting the celebration. Mark Anthony, and we have Michael Bublé and Gwen Stefani all set to perform. You've got to watch it on your local NBC station. Again, streaming live as well on Peacock. It all starts at 8 o'clock Eastern, and that means we are off and running. Plus, how a raccoon ended up passed out in a liquor store bathroom. Emergency crews in Asia this evening are rushing to find survivors from those devastating floods that we told you about. The death toll now stands at 1,400 across Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and Thailand, with more than 800 still missing. And you can see some of the devastating scenes here. Indonesia is bearing the worst of it with more than 700 dead. Take a look at these houses just completely buried and inundated in mud. And in Sri Lanka, rescuers are working with especially limited resources to reach some of those hardest hit areas. Asia correspondent Cordelia Lynch with our partner Sky News is on the ground right there.
The cyclone here in Sri Lanka has been devastating for people. 474 have died, hundreds are still missing. And just look here, one of the many businesses in Kandy, the worst hit district, which has been totally obliterated. Chamilka and Ananda here had put all of their life savings into setting up this photography studio. But look, now they're just trying to clear up what's left. A lot of the cameras have just been completely wrecked. And it's not just here. They've also lost their home, and they know friends that have lost children as well. I think you get a real sense here in Kandy of frustration that there were no warnings. No one was told that this cyclone was coming, and the water went right up to the ceiling here. We heard people describe fleeing from the garment factories in this area, trying to rush to safety, and they are trying still to recover bodies from here, but frankly, you don't see a lot of presence of rescue teams, and food is scarce too. Chamilka just told me that she has a bag of rice. That's the only food that a friend has given her to survive for the next few days. It all feels very precarious, and this in a country that's already suffered economic collapse. It's been trying to recover from that. This is a major setback.
Yeah, Cordelia Lynch, thank you very much. On the ground there in Sri Lanka. Back here in Washington, the FBI says it is growing more concerned about a violent extremist criminal organization. It's known as 764, which the agency says targets vulnerable children online. Hundreds of people with potential ties to the group are being investigated now. Every FBI field office across country is also involved with various cases. And now in D.C., U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro says her office has charged 2 men who were leaders of that group. Investigators say members of the group allegedly reach out to kids through messaging platforms and gaming sites before enticing them to harm themselves or others. Tracy Wilkins from our NBC station right here in Washington has more.
On a daily basis, thousands of tips pour into the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's cyber tip line.
We receive between 50 to 75,000 reports each and every day.
This year, analysts say they've seen a sharp increase in new and disturbing crimes targeting kids on the internet.
This is very critical that we identify the reports in which a child is at risk right now, so those can be appropriately prioritized and expeditiously referred to law enforcement.
Including from violent online groups befriending children through publicly available messaging platforms and gaming sites, enticing them to harm themselves or others. They call it sadistic online exploitation. Director Fallon McNulty says in the first 9 months of this year, they've already tracked more than 2,000 reports.
This is perversion like I've never seen.
D.C.'s U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro says her team has been tracking cases, too.
It's a child exploitation enterprise where a group is joined with a common goal of basically destroying young children.
Her office brought charges against 2 men they say were leaders in the 764 network. The FBI has labeled 764 a nihilist, violent extremist criminal organization and says it got its name from the first 3 numbers of the zip code in Texas where it started before spreading around the globe. The FBI tells the I-Team it is actively investigating more than 350 people tied to the group. According to the D.C. indictment, the defendants are accused of teaching other prospective 764 members, some here in the district, how to groom minors to engage in acts of violence. Most details are too graphic to mention, but they include having children record or live stream self-mutilation, participate in sexual acts, or harm animals.
They're having children pour bleach on their arms and then light their arms on fire.
All for the purpose of gaining notoriety within the network. The indictment says 764 members share a guide with instructions on extortion, blackmailing victims to create content, threatening to release images to family and friends if they don't. That included a minor in Maryland, according to the indictment.
They work on the most vulnerable. They find the ones who are lonely, who don't have a family or a strong family, who are alone after school, and they use extortion as a form of discipline to little girls who might not have a father at home.
One of the named defendants, Prasant Napal, pleaded not guilty. News 4 reached out to his attorney for any comment, but did not hear back.
This defendant right now that we've got in D.C. is facing life in prison if he is found guilty of the crimes within which we include in our indictment. These are horrific acts.
Pirro says the second defendant, a U.S. citizen, resides in Greece. He has not been extradited, but she says faces charges there. An attorney is not listed for him. According to data from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, most victims in these types of cases, 75%, are 14 to 17 years old, 21%, 11 to 13. Pirro says all parents need to talk with their kids about this threat and be aware of what they're doing online.
Do they keep me up at night? Some do. They would keep any human being up at night if that human being were normal. But when you do the work that we do, we deal with the lowest of the low.
Last month, a federal grand jury indicted a 20-year-old Maryland man for alleged crimes against 3 girls. Investigators say he had ties to 764. So what can parents do? The FBI says monitor your kids' online activities, look for fresh cuts or bruises or sudden behavior and appearance changes, including wearing long sleeves or pants in unusual circumstances, such as warm weather. I'm Tracy Wilkins for NBC News.
Tracy Wilkins, thank you. One of the best in Washington right there. Tracy Wilkins, thank you. NBC News covers hundreds of stories each day, and you know it's awfully tough to read, watch, or listen to them all. So our regional bureau teams have picked some highlights. We call this segment The Local. From our Midwest Bureau, one person is still missing after that massive St. Louis fire that we told you about last week. Flames ripped through 4 vacant warehouses. Firefighters believe an unhoused man may be buried under that debris, and several agencies are now part of the search. From our Western Bureau, a beloved albino alligator. Make that albino alligator. I have a friend named Albino. Albino alligator at the San Francisco Museum. He passed away at the age of 30. And you might recognize Claude from children's books and even ads at bus and light rail stations. The California Academy of Sciences says Claude captivated hearts for about 17 years. They plan to hold a public memorial in the near future for Claude. From our Washington, D.C. Bureau, take a look at the mess after a break-in at a Virginia liquor store. There's the suspect. Caught on camera, a raccoon passed out on the floor after getting into hundreds of dollars worth of alcohol. Check out this brand new surveillance video now of the trashed panda in the act. Local animal control say the raccoon was safely released back to the wild after sleeping off his, oh wait, just hold on, he's wobbling. He had to sleep off a rather wild and intoxicating night. Coming up from us, it is one of the world's greatest aviation mysteries. Is it now closer to finally being solved? What we're learning about the new push to find Flight MH370. All right, this evening we are hearing of a new push to solve one of the world's great aviation mysteries. Later this month, an American company is again going to search for the wreckage of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. And you'll surely remember, the Boeing 777 bound from Malaysia to Beijing vanished from radar shortly after takeoff back in 2014, 239 people on board. Satellite data showed that it took a turn from its flight path, and it was suddenly going south into the far southern Indian Ocean. And some debris has, in fact, washed ashore off Madagascar and on Reunion Island. The bulk of the plane, though, and its passengers remain missing. We want to bring in NBC aviation analyst Jeff Guzzitti to talk about all of this. He's a current NBC analyst, former NTSB and FAA investigator. Jeff, you and I talked about this briefly on the phone. This isn't the first try to find this plane, and Ocean Infinity is trying again now that the weather has improved down there. But does it have a real chance of success this time?
I'm not sure, Tom. That's a great question. Ocean Infinity is going to try for the second time. Their first attempt was in 2018, and that was after a Australian government attempt years before that. So this is the third search attempt, the second for Ocean Infinity. It's in waters that are roughly 5 miles deep, but they seem to have decided that there's certain key areas that they think the wreckage might lie, and they're going to go after them with the assets that they have.
So, while you're on the topic of how deep this wreckage might be, if it is in fact there, and satellite pings would suggest that is in fact where it is, in that area about 5,800 square miles off of Australia. If it is there and it's 4 to 5 miles deep, is there any hope of ever recovering it?
It is like finding a needle in a haystack. So,
and by the way, it's in a mountain range, right? It's in a mountain range that's described as an underwater Swiss kind of high country.
That's correct. If you can imagine a mountain range submerged in 5 miles of water, that's the kind of terrain, the ocean subsurface that they need to find this thing. The challenge, I think, is to find it, right? So they're going to use side scan sonar that you see there. They're going to be towing that. They'll use a number of remote operated bathyspheres that goes that go very deep. And if they can actually pinpoint the wreckage or paint something that looks like wreckage, well, then, they'll have to very meticulously raise that wreckage, or at least get the flight recorders to try to solve this 11-year-old mystery.
Yeah, if physically they can. Let me ask you this. We've always had this chatter about the theories, the speculation, the rumors about what happened here to the plane. What do you believe is the most prominent and likely scenario?
In my mind, Tom, and it's just my opinion based on everything I know, I think this was an intentional act, right? I think one of the flight crew, probably the first officer, took this airplane away from its flight path, perhaps killed the crew by asphyxiating the crew. I just don't know, but it just seems to be an intentional act to me. It does not have the earmarks of any kind of mechanical malfunction. There were no Mayday calls. In fact, there's evidence that transponders were turned off from the cockpit. Yeah. So it's, in my mind, it's intentional.
Well, we will watch closely. Again, they're going to start the search again towards the end of the month. Jeff Guzzetti, thanks very much. Still to come from us, the Olympic flame officially on the move. We're following its journey from Greece to Italy ahead of the Winter Games. Stay with us. Right now, we want to talk about the Olympic flame on what organizers call the greatest journey, making its way to Italy. It is set to arrive in Rome just a few hours from now after being formally lit in Greece last week. The flame will then do a tour around Italy before reaching its final destination. Now, the 2026 Winter Games, of course, are going to be in Milan Cortina. The torch is carrying with it years of Olympic history and tradition, making this moment so much more than just a lighting. NBC's Claudia Lavagna explains in the breakdown.
The Olympic torch on the road again. Last Wednesday, it was lit in an ancient ritual, marking the beginning of the Olympic journey from Olympia in Greece to Italy, where the torch arrives this week. On Saturday, its final journey will start from here at the Stadio dei Marmi, the Stadium of Marbles, in Rome.
There are 60 statues here, each representing a different sport, including, of course, winter disciplines like skiing. From here, the torch will be carried through some of Rome's most iconic landmarks: the Vatican, the Trevi Fountain, the Colosseum, and Piazza del Popolo, one of Rome's biggest squares.
Then, for the next 2 months, 10,001 torchbearers will carry the flame across the country to its final destinations, Cortina and Milan, the two host cities of the Winter Games. But with it, torchbearers will also carry the weight of its history. The Olympic torch was introduced by Nazi Germany during the 1936 Games in Berlin. After World War II, it became a symbol of peace and unity, and provided memorable moments from every corner in the world. From the Olympic cauldron lit by an archer in Barcelona to the flame reaching new heights in the hands of a ski jumper in Norway. And of course, the unforgettable moment Muhammad Ali fought against Parkinson's disease to lit the flame in Atlanta. A true symbol of enduring Olympic spirit and resilience. Claudia Lavagna, NBC News, Rome.
Yep, that's a wrap for this hour. The coverage resumes right now on NBC News Now. Stay with us. And we come on the air at the top of the hour with President Trump again slamming Somalia, saying that just in the last few hours, of course, that his immigration crackdown is targeting the city where thousands of Somali immigrants live. Then a new report says Pete Hegseth may have put American troops' lives at risk in some of his group chats as he faces more scrutiny about attacks on an alleged drug boat near Venezuela. We're live outside of the White House. Plus, the calendar says it's still fall, but we're getting all kinds of winter weather, already from snow to record cold. We'll tell you where an Arctic blast is set to strike. And the doctor who sold ketamine to Matthew Perry before his overdose appeared in court today, the sentence that the judge has just handed down. Plus, a look at never-before-seen videos of the private island where Jeffrey Epstein brought his rich and powerful friends. Why House Democrats decided to put them out now. That's coming up later in our newscast. Good day. I'm Tom Costello. I'm in for Hallie on this Wednesday, and we start the broadcast with President Trump setting his sights on Somali immigrants living in the U.S., the latest targeted in this nationwide immigration crackdown. And we heard the president in just the past hour denigrating Somalis in Minnesota in the Oval Office.
So Somalia is considered by many to be the worst country on earth. I don't know. I haven't been there. I won't be there anytime soon, I hope. But what Somalia, what the Somalian people have done to Minnesota is not even believable. It's not even believable. And a lot of it starts with the governor. A lot of it starts with Barack Hussein Obama, because that's when people started coming in.
Not at all clear what he's talking about with reference to Somalis in Minnesota. In just about 24 hours, though, after we heard similar comments from Mr. Trump during a cabinet meeting, we're learning that immigration enforcement operations are kicking off in Minneapolis. Senior law enforcement officials confirmed to NBC News that agents are on the ground in the Twin Cities for a large-scale operation that includes the arrest of some Somali immigrants. And the Trump administration says it's pausing immigration applications from people from at least 19 countries that it considers high risk. So here's a list of those countries, everything from Afghanistan, as you can see, Cuba, as well as Haiti, Iran, Laos, Yemen at the bottom there. Another city seeing a crackdown, New Orleans. Agents say that they're targeting, quote, criminal illegal aliens. This video shows a man in a Lowe's parking lot in New Orleans being detained after refusing to tell a Border Patrol agent where he was born.
I won't answer any more questions. Okay. Can you put handcuffs on him, please? Where is the table, all right?
Let's get now to NBC's Priscilla Thompson, who is on the ground there in Louisiana. Priscilla, give us a sense of what this community response is like where you are.
Yeah, Tom, it has been fear, and it has also been people in this community stepping up to try to help their immigrant neighbors who are scared to leave their homes right now. We spoke to one woman, Rocio, who actually pulled up to us because she said she was scared when she saw us here, and she is a U.S. citizen, she told us, but she was scared for her community, and she has been picking up and dropping off the children of immigrants who are scared to leave their homes. She's been delivering groceries, and I asked her about what that experience has been like and what she's been hearing from those children that she's been helping. And I just want to play a little bit of what she had to say.
One of the girls that I picked up yesterday, I called my mom 3 times. She didn't pick up. I'm like, baby, maybe, you know, she went to the restroom. She's not walking with the phone. These kids are afraid.
She was scared her mom was gone.
Exactly. I mean, how do you say bye to your kid and you don't know if you will see them again? They have their own houses, their own businesses, and they're gone.
And we have spoken to business owners here and seen several restaurants that have closed because they either don't have the workers, their workers are not coming in, or they say that they don't want to put their workers and potentially their customers in jeopardy with the possibility that immigration officials could come in, Border Patrol could come in and start asking questions and making arrests. So just a lot of concern. And one immigration attorney actually told us she's telling her clients to treat this like COVID. Stay in the house, get the groceries delivered, set up a doorbell camera, and know that if you're in your home, officers cannot approach you without a warrant. And that's what she's been telling her clients. So certainly a lot of fear just throughout this predominantly or heavily Latino community here in Kenner, Louisiana.
And it sounds like it's happening nationwide. All right, Priscilla Thompson, thank you very much on the ground there in Louisiana. We appreciate your help. In just about 24 hours after we've heard, well, let's move on. Tonight, there's pressure building on Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth after the release of a new report from the Pentagon Inspector General. And that report is saying that Hegseth put American troops' lives at risk by sharing secret military information in a group chat back in March. That, according to 2 people who've read the Inspector General's report, a redacted version expected to be released publicly tomorrow. The revelation comes as Secretary Hegseth faces growing scrutiny from Congress over 2 strikes on an alleged drug boat near Venezuela in early September. Hegseth says he did not stay to watch the second strike, which reportedly killed 2 people who initially survived that attack. Hegseth told reporters he did not see survivors after the first strike, citing the, quote, fog of war. And you're seeing footage of the first strike here. The president saying in just the past few hours he's open to releasing video of the second strike. Take a listen.
You released video of that first boat strike on September 2nd, but not the second video. Will you release video of that strike so that the American people can see for themselves what happened?
I don't know what they have, but whatever they have, we'd certainly release, no problem. You know, we stopped every boat we knock out. We saved 25,000 American lives.
NBC's Garrett Haig is on this story right there outside of the White House. Garrett, we're just hearing now from the White House on this Signal Gate report, right? What are you hearing?
That's right, Tom. The White House seems to be trying to will this story away with a statement that says, in part, that this report shows that there was no classified information shared, includes a little bit more information, and concludes with a key sentence here that the president still has confidence in Secretary Hegseth. Now, that runs counter to our reporting that there was secret information shared in this group chat, stuff that should not have been shared in that manner. We will see when the full report, or at least the unclassified version of it, becomes public a little bit later in the week, exactly what it entails. But that key statement at the end, that the president still maintains confidence in Secretary Hegseth, is, I think, the thing that a lot of people will be hanging on here. You know, the Signal Gate episode has kind of dogged the entire national security team across these last several months. If Hegseth can put that behind him, they can focus on this other issue, the Venezuela boat strike story, which I think will continue to have legs, as we say in the business, Tom, with the release of that longer video of the second strike that the president says he's open to seeing be made public.
So could Hegseth face any real repercussions from this, or does he still continue to have the president's confidence?
Well, he has the president's confidence for now, Tom. But again, this is the kind of thing that could have a lot longer legs here. You could see potentially a congressional investigation, even under Republican-controlled House and Senate. And if the Democrats win control in the midterms of either chamber of Congress, particularly if these strikes continue, I could see this being the kind of thing that gets a very, very significant look from an opposition party who wants to delve far more deeply into the ways in which the president has used his power all over the world, but especially in our neighborhood with these strikes that many Democrats and even some Republicans think might just be simply illegal.
Garrett Haig, thank you very much for following all of that. A lot of the country is in severe winter weather at this hour, and a few Arctic blasts are about to drive temperatures even lower. So check out the Denver-Boulder area, where folks there are dealing with a lot of snowfall, could reach 8 inches in some parts of Colorado. One SUV needed a tow as icy roads and low visibility created hazardous conditions. And then on the west side of Metro Denver, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department reporting more than 50 vehicles sliding off the road. NBC's Bill Cairns is here to track it all. So, Bill, we saw some snow, but the big deal is the cold blast that's really taking a huge chunk out of the country, right? So how cold will it get, and where is it going to get cold?
In the same spots where it snowed, and they're related to each other too. You get that snow on the ground, and at night the winds go calm, and that cold air it sinks right down to the surface. So this is the Arctic cold front that's going through. Right now it's just slicing through areas of Michigan and the Great Lakes. Behind this is frigid air. The wind chills are -20 to -30 in central Canada, and that's the cold air that's heading our way. By the time we get to Thursday night, it sweeps through the northeast. There's not a lot of lake effect snow. There'll still be a tiny bit, but it's not a huge event. The wind direction isn't quite right. So all the blue dots on this map show you where record lows are possible. Thursday morning in the areas of the Midwest, including Chicago. Friday morning as we head towards Pennsylvania. We will be seeing temperatures, that are like, I'd say like a typical January early morning. And for this time of year, it's a little unusual. So -10 tomorrow morning in Des Moines, -5 in Minneapolis. Of course, you got people trying to get to school, people at the school bus stop. That's not fun. Chicago at 5, wind chill -9. And then as we head Friday morning in the teens and then the low 20s on the I-95 corridor, by far the coldest morning we've had yet this winter season in many areas of the Northeast. The cold air doesn't arrive till tomorrow, though, so it does look like it's actually going to be a pretty good show starting this evening, coming up here at 8 o'clock, not far from now here at 30 Rock. The lighting of the Christmas tree goes on, and 35 degrees, light winds, and clear and cool, no problem whatsoever. And looking at the maps, Tom, the next kind of interesting weather event along the southeast, we could have a flood risk with some heavy rain. The northern edge of this, some areas of Virginia may get a little bit of snow, and then very unsettled, the Pacific Northwest. You got a bad forecast coming up over the next week. Numerous storms. We're a little concerned, especially Washington. Washington State, eastern Washington. When you get towards the Olympics, maybe a little bit in the Cascades, we could see some flood threats in some of those rivers with the melting snow and the heavy rain that's going to happen as we head into the weekend and into next week. But overall, Tom, no more snowstorms. And once we get past this cold blast, next week actually looks pretty quiet for much of the country. A lot different than what we just got done with.
Okay, Bill Cairns, thank you very much. A judge in California today sentenced a doctor who sold ketamine to Friends star Matthew Perry just weeks before his overdose to more than 2 years in prison. The doctor is Salvador Plasencia, and here he is arriving at court in L.A. today. He is the first of 5 people to be sentenced in Perry's death, but he is not accused of selling the dose that killed the actor back in October of 23. Perry was taking a surgical anesthetic, ketamine, legally as a treatment for depression. But when his regular doctor would not prescribe the amounts Perry wanted, he turned to Plasencia, who admitted to illegally selling it to Perry, even though he knew the actor was struggling with addiction. And according to court documents, Plasencia texted another doctor that Perry was a moron who could be exploited for money. Perry's family provided a victim impact statement that read in part, this doctor conspired to break his most important vows, asking for what? So he could feed on the vulnerability of our son. NBC's Camilla Bernal is outside of court in Los Angeles. Camilla, Plasencia's lawyers have tried to paint a much more sympathetic picture of their client, right? Are they saying anything more tonight?
They most certainly tried, Tom, and in court today what they said was that this was someone who essentially came from nothing, who went to medical school, who had a clinic. He himself apologized and said he'd failed the Perry Morrison family, failed his own patients, failed his own family. He apologized, but that was not enough for the judge and certainly not enough for the prosecution, who said that he was a drug dealer in a white coat. And the judge even saying that, yes, that the relationship that this doctor or former doctor had with Matthew Perry was not a patient-doctor relationship, but instead a relationship that was about dealing, that was about making money, because essentially what he made was $55,000 off of Matthew Perry because he sold a large amount of ketamine to him. It was made very clear in court that he did not sell the specific drug that essentially led to his overdose and his death, but the fact that he provided so much ketamine was front and center here in court today. That led the judge to decide to go with 30 years in prison. That's 2.5 years plus 2 years probation. This is certainly closer to what the prosecution had asked for, which they had asked for 36 months versus what the defense had asked for, which was 1 day. So again, it was just like a very emotional day in court today, as we heard from family members, from Salvador Plasencia himself, and of course from these attorneys and the state trying to essentially get the worst type of sentence they could, and they got pretty close to what they wanted, Tom.
So we read from some of the victim impact statement from Perry's family ahead of the sentencing. What more did they say about the impact that this has had on their family?
Yeah, it really was very emotional for all the family members that spoke today. The majority of the people who spoke were his step-siblings. So these women went out and talked about how hard this has been on them, how much of just a burden and just a heartbreak it's been to have their brother be gone. And they spoke about how much joy he brought to the family himself. They also spoke about the fact that just because he was a celebrity doesn't mean that he wasn't a person, that he was also just part of that family, someone they deeply cared about, and they trusted this doctor. Trusted doctors in general is something that the family said, and this doctor in particular failed that oath that he made as a doctor. The mother speaking to him directly, looking at him in the eye and asking him to look at her as a mother, and he would look at her and essentially nod, acknowledging what he'd done. He apologized, and when he did so, he turned around and faced that family directly, saying that he was so sorry. When the judge read those 30 months, you could visibly or audibly, hear one of the siblings just sobbing as they heard that sentence, Tom.
All right. Camilla Bernal, thank you very much. For the first time, we're getting a look inside Epstein Island, as lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are asking for a status update on the actual Epstein files. And these are now the never-before-seen videos showing the private island where Jeffrey Epstein brought his rich and powerful friends and connections. House Dems on the Oversight Committee released the images showing the expansive grounds of what essentially looks like a luxury resort, replete with multiple rooms and bathrooms. And one of them, really what looks like kind of a dentist chair in one of the rooms with masks on the walls. Another inside room that looks like a study with words like power and deception written on the wall. NBC's Mel Zanona is on Capitol Hill. Mel, what more are we seeing? And some of these photos and videos are kind of odd.
Yeah, there are over a dozen videos and photos of various rooms at the Epstein Island estate. Most of them are bedrooms and bathrooms. There's no people in the photos. One of the images shows the coastline near his property with a no trespassing sign. But several of the photos were rather odd and unusual. One of them that you did mention was an apparent dentist room set up with really random masks of men, it looks like, hanging on the wall. In another photo, there is what you said appears to be a study, and we see a blackboard with several words that are blacked out, sort of redacted there. But of the words we can see that are still written on the board there, you can see the words power and deception. Now, it's unclear what the significance of these images are because they did not come with any captions, and the Democrats who released them did not really specify the purpose for releasing them, other than saying that their goal was to ensure transparency in the investigation and to, quote, help piece together the full picture of Epstein's horrific crimes. But my colleague Sahil Kapoor did catch up with the Republican committee chairman, that's James Comer, about these images. He said he's not sure why Democrats released them, but Comer says he's more interested in seeing the bank records from the Epstein estate. So that potentially could be the next avenue for this investigation.
And there's several people we have yet to hear from, right, on this investigation, right? Investigators want to hear from Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, and the House Oversight Committee is threatening contempt of Congress if Bill and Hillary Clinton don't comply with their subpoenas. So what more could we learn here?
Yeah, I mean, we could learn more, potentially. There's a lot up in the air right now. In Congress, James Comer did issue a subpoena for the Clintons to appear before his committee the second week of December, so that would be 2 weeks from now. Excuse me, the third week of December. Initially, they had been going back and forth trying to come up with a date, but Comer told me that he felt like he was getting the runaround and that they were dragging their feet setting a date, so he just set a date himself. And so it's unclear whether the Clintons are actually going to show up, but if they don't, Comer suggested to me that they could be held in contempt of Congress. Meanwhile, at the DOJ, they are on the clock to release the Epstein files after Congress passed a bill and Trump signed into law a resolution that requires the DOJ to publicize those files within 30 days of enactment of that bill. So that would also put it towards the end of December. But we have not heard from the DOJ yet. They have not released any files. And so a bipartisan group of members are asking for a status update. Specifically, they wrote in a formal letter to the DOJ, we are particularly focused on understanding the contents of any new evidence, information, or procedural hurdles that could interfere with the department's ability to meet this statutory deadline. Tom?
Okay, we'll be watching closely. Mel Zanona, thank you very much. Families of the victims from that devastating UPS cargo plane crash have filed lawsuits today demanding answers for their loved ones' deaths. And this was the scene last month, you may recall, that UPS plane going down in Louisville, Kentucky, killing 3 crew members and 11 people on the ground. The critical piece of evidence is that left engine that came off the plane while it was trying to take off, falling to the ground. And now families for 2 of the victims are suing UPS, GE, the engine manufacturer, and Boeing, saying that they all showed a, quote, disregard for the lives and the safety of others. The sister of Trinidad Chavez, a 37-year-old mother who died in the crash, shared an emotional testimony here at this press conference today.
Trina was a sister, mother, and friend to everyone. But she was also much more than that. We're trusting our lawyers to do what it takes to get answers and secure the future of Nena's babies. And we intend to stand up for Nena and fight for her however long it takes.
Well, reps for the UPS and GE tell us they cannot comment on an investigation or pending litigation, but they fully support the NTSB investigation. NBC's Kathy Park is covering this for us today. And Kathy, what else can you tell us about what these victims are saying today and what a horrific loss they've all suffered?
Yeah, Tom. So the complaints have been filed on behalf of the families of Angela Anderson, who was shopping at a business nearby at the time of the crash. Another individual, as you mentioned, Trinidad Chavez, who was an employee working at Grade A Auto Parts. And today, family members were present at a press conference along with their attorneys. And they said the lawsuit was filed for a couple of reasons. They want accountability, first of all. They want to know exactly what happened. They also want reform so they don't have this type of tragedy ever happen again. Of course, they want justice for all of those victims. I do want to pull out a couple of excerpts from the complaint that was filed. Several defendants, as you mentioned, Tom, were named in this complaint, but specifically when it comes to UPS, it alleges the company operated the MD-11F when it was not in an airworthy condition, allowed the aircraft to fly despite defects or unsafe conditions affecting the left wing, left engine, or related components, created a dangerous condition by implementing inadequate maintenance. Meanwhile, Tom, as I mentioned, there was a press conference earlier today. Here's a little bit more from that event. Take a listen.
The fact that it's going to take months to make sure that these planes are safe and airworthy means that there's lots of things that need to be fixed on these planes if they're ever going to get back in the sky. And for right now, step one of grounding all these planes is a step in the right direction. Step two of making sure the planes are safe to be in the air are great steps, but unfortunately, step two in this case is too late.
And Tom, in addition to the federal investigation that is still ongoing by the NTSB, the attorneys added that they would be launching their own independent investigation. So they will be seeking additional documents that are not publicly available. They'll be asking for other records related to the aircraft and also talking to experts as they continue to work on this lawsuit. Meanwhile, Tom, you mentioned there are two families who came forward, but there is a possibility that additional victims' families come forward and file lawsuits as well. Tom.
Okay, Kathy Park, thank you very much. Tonight we have a new report showing that private companies shed jobs overall last month, and what's raising concern is where the jobs were lost. ADP, the payroll processing company, found that companies with fewer than 50 employees lost about 120,000 jobs, and we're talking about, you know, mom and pop shops and Main Street companies, small firms. Well, big companies actually added 90,000 jobs and workers. Wall Street liked the news today. We'll explain that. But the market's closed higher, in part because investors are thinking today's numbers will increase the chances of an interest rate cut when the Fed meets next week. We want to bring in NBC's Brian Chung right now. You know, yet another case of what's good news on or bad news on Main Street may be perceived as good news on Wall Street, Brian. It seems counterintuitive, but is this sort of latest indication on the economy what's working for big business and the wealthy may not be helping the folks who are just trying to get by day by day?
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. And to your point, this is an example of Main Street not being the same as Wall Street. And if we're talking about what's happening on Main Street, it's a lot of these small businesses that are taking it on the chin. Again, this is a weird economy where with these rising costs and with issues around affordability, those families that are due to well, where they have strong income, they are among the wealthiest in America, well, they're the ones that are probably driving a lot of the consumer spending. And Moody's Analytics had a recent report suggesting that, yes, it's the top 10% of earners that are accounting for half of all consumer spending. The other half is coming from the rest of America. So now that is something that's definitely having a different impact on different types of businesses. Obviously, a lot of those large companies that are conglomerates that sell a lot of luxury goods, they might be doing well in that type of economy. But these small businesses that are maybe now feeling the pressure of increased tariffs, which, as we know, make it more expensive for the importing companies, which are American companies, to pay their bills. Well, that's going to lead to bankruptcies. And we actually saw that from a recent Bloomberg report suggesting that a specific type of bankruptcy, what they call Subchapter 5, has gone up to a record. So that is certainly a concern here, Tom, as we do see these small businesses taking it on the chin in this economy.
Okay, so then what does that mean then for consumers? What does it say about where consumers are spending their money or maybe not spending their money right now?
Yeah, well, something that we're hearing a lot about is the concept of trading down. Of course, when it comes to American families, when you're faced with this situation where things are more expensive, you can't choose to not have dinner on the table, but can you make certain substitutes, substituting some of those proteins or some of those meats for beans, perhaps? That is something that we're seeing Americans do. And another example of this is for holiday shopping. You can see how people would want something under the tree. It's not like you can have nothing under the tree for Christmas or for the holidays, but you might try to buy cheaper paper gifts. And for that reason, we're seeing retailers like Five Below knocking it out of the park. They just announced earnings in the last few hours, and we saw their net sales topping over $1 billion. That's up over 14%. I think Five Below is one of these kind of discount names that gets forgotten in the names of like Dollar General, Dollar Tree. Again, because of inflation, maybe $5 is the new mark we need to be thinking about here. But it's those discount retailers that are benefiting from Americans making these trade downs to make sure that they can have the spending that they desire, especially around this holiday time, Tom.
You know, Brian, I just read the other day that Hamburger Helper is back. And it is a recession indicator. People buy Hamburger Helper to fill up their kids' bellies when they may be trying to cut back.
That's right. All you need is ground beef, and it's a cheap option to feed your families in bulk.
Brian Chung, thanks very much. Appreciate it. Still ahead from us, what an alleged trespassing at Travis Kelce's home has to do with a Hollywood legal drama. Plus, how many police officers did it take to trap this massive gator? We'll tell you. In Massachusetts today, prosecutors are focusing on some gruesome evidence in the murder trial for a man accused of killing his wife. And here are the items investigators found that belonged to Anna Walsh: a bathrobe, slippers, and more stain in a sort of a reddish-brown mark. In another trash bag, a hammer, wire snips, a hatchet, and a hacksaw, also stained. Prosecutors say Brian Walsh in court today planned it all. The DA wants to convince the jury in this trial that Walsh is the killer. And he did it for his wife's $2.7 million life insurance policy, for which he was the sole beneficiary. But here's what's odd. Walsh has already pleaded guilty to dismembering his wife's body and lying to police, but he's fighting the first-degree murder charge he's facing in the trial. His defense says their client did not kill his wife. They say she had a sudden, unexplained death while she was in bed after a New Year's Eve celebration, which then sent Walsh into a panic. Robert Goulston from our NBC station in Boston is joining us and has been in court all day. A lot of today's testimony focused on that evidence in those trash bags and the life insurance policy, right?
Exactly, Tom. And what's so interesting about this case is a lot of times you don't have this, is where the prosecution and defense are actually on the same page with a lot of the facts. They, as we know, Brian Walsh has admitted that he lied to investigators after he dismembered his wife's body and disposed of it. So now they're trying to figure out if he actually killed her. That's what the jury has to decide. Well, today, for the first time, we're seeing a lot of the circumstantial evidence that connects him to Anna Walsh's dismembered body, what they found after in the trash receptacle near Brian Walsh's mother's house nearby Boston. So now they're trying to put that all together and paint a picture of exactly what was happening after Anna went missing. And of course, the defense's side of the story is they say she died in her sleep that night and he panicked and he was just trying to get rid of the body to try to make sure that he wasn't charged with murder. But that was not the case, of course.
I mean, honestly, you know, I think an outsider would say this really kind of sounds absurd, right? Why not call 911? But he has already pleaded guilty to dismembering his wife, lying to police. What do we expect to hear next that could speak to the allegations that this was, in fact, premeditated?
Well, Tom, one of the biggest motivations that they are saying, the prosecution, is that this all stems from an affair with a realtor who sold Anna Walsh the condo down in Washington, D.C., where she was working. Now, the prosecution is saying that this affair is what actually triggered what happened. So tomorrow, we are expecting to hear from William Fastow. He is the person that prosecution saying that Anna Walsh did have the affair with. And there's some text messages on New Year's Eve, apparently, that were sent between the two parties the night that this all happened. So that could be a big factor in proving the motive in this case. And of course, the prosecution does not have to prove a motive, but they're trying to connect the dots for the jury to make sure that they have a better understanding what may have fueled this in their theory of what happened in this case. Tom?
Robert Goulston, on a balmy night in Boston, I don't think that's true. I think it's freezing in Boston, and you're standing there without a coat just to act tough, but you look good. All right, Robert.
And I get
Thanks
my iced
very
coffee
much.
coming too.
Okay, good. Thanks very much. Yeah, I've done it too. Let's switch over now to the 5 things her team thinks you may want to know about this evening. Number 1, we're just learning tonight that an F-16 fighter jet crashed during a training mission in California. San Bernardino Fire says that it was a pilot who was safely ejected, and he is now in stable condition. The incident under military investigation. Number 2, police have thwarted what they believe was a planned shooting at the University of Delaware. A 25-year-old student arrested after a traffic stop. Police say they discovered a gun, dozens of rounds of ammo, and body armor in his car, and that the suspect may have been targeting an employee at the university's police department. The student is in federal custody. Number 3, Jared Isaacman, billionaire tech entrepreneur, making a comeback to lead NASA. And you may remember him. President Trump withdrew the nomination earlier this year during a fallout with Elon Musk, but then resurrected it last month. Here's Isaacman at his second congressional hearing today. Take a listen.
Last time I sat before you, I introduced myself, my qualifications, and the challenges and opportunities ahead. This time I'm here with a message of urgency.
During the hearing, he stressed that the urgency was for the moon race with China and downplayed his connections to Elon Musk. Number 4, the man accused of trespassing at Travis Kelce's house says he was trying to serve Taylor Swift, his fiancée, a subpoena. You'll remember Swift was caught up in the legal fight between It Ends With Us co-stars Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. According to the man's attorney, he agreed to pay a $1,000 fine and enter a year-long program that could absolve him of the charge. Number 5, check this out. Florida police wrangling that huge alligator in the middle of the road. It took about 7 officers and 1 very skilled trapper to get the 600-pound gator out safe, and now he's on his way to an alligator farm. Emergency crews in Asia this evening are rushing to find survivors from those devastating floods that we told you about. The death toll now stands at 1,400 across Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and Thailand, with more than 800 still missing. And you can see some of the devastating scenes here. Indonesia is bearing the worst of it with more than 700 dead. Take a look at these houses just completely buried and inundated in mud. And in Sri Lanka, rescuers are working with its especially limited resources to reach some of those hardest hit areas. Asia correspondent Cordelia Lynch with our partner Sky News is on the ground right there.
The cyclone here in Sri Lanka has been devastating for people. 474 have died, hundreds are still missing. And just look here, one of the many businesses in Kandy, the worst hit district, which has been totally obliterated. Chamilka and Ananda here had put all of their life savings into setting up this photography studio. But look, now they're just trying to clear up what's left. A lot of the cameras have just been completely wrecked. And it's not just here. They've also lost their home, and they know friends that have lost children as well. I think you get a real sense here in Kandy of frustration that there were no warnings. No one was told that this cyclone was coming, and the water went right up to the ceiling here. We heard people describe fleeing from the garment factories in this area, trying to rush to safety, and they are trying still to recover bodies from here, but frankly you don't see a lot of presence of rescue teams, and food is scarce too. Chamilka just told me that she has a bag of rice. That's the only food that a friend has given her to survive for the next few days. It all feels very precarious, and this in a country that's already suffered economic collapse. It's been trying to recover from that. This is a major setback.
Yeah, Cordelia Lynch, thank you very much. On the ground there in Sri Lanka. Back here in Washington, the FBI says it is growing more concerned about a violent extremist criminal organization. It's known as 764, which the agency says targets vulnerable children online. Hundreds of people with potential ties to the group are being investigated now. Every FBI field office across country is also involved with various cases. And now in D.C., U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro says her office has charged 2 men who were leaders of that group. Investigators say members of the group allegedly reach out to kids through messaging platforms and gaming sites before enticing them to harm themselves or others. Tracy Wilkins from our NBC station right here in Washington has more.
On a daily basis, thousands of tips pour into the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's cyber tip line.
We receive between 50 to 75,000 reports each and every day.
This year, analysts say they've seen a sharp increase in new and disturbing crimes targeting kids on the internet.
This is very critical that we identify the reports in which a child is at risk right now, so those can be appropriately prioritized and expeditiously referred to law enforcement.
Including from violent online groups befriending children through publicly available messaging platforms and gaming sites, enticing them to harm themselves or others. They call it sadistic online exploitation. Director Fallon McNulty says in the first 9 months of this year, they've already tracked more than 2,000 reports.
This is perversion like I've never seen.
D.C.'s U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro says her team has been tracking cases, too.
It's a child exploitation enterprise where a group is joined with a common goal of basically destroying young children.
Her office brought charges against 2 men they say were leaders in the 764 network. The FBI has labeled 764 a nihilist, violent extremist criminal organization and says it got its name from the first 3 numbers of the zip code in Texas where it started before spreading around the globe. The FBI tells the I-Team it is actively investigating more than 350 people tied to the group. According to the D.C. indictment, the defendants are accused of teaching other prospective 764 members, some here in the district, how to groom minors to engage in acts of violence. Most details are too graphic to mention, but they include having children record or live stream self-mutilation, participate in sexual acts, or harm animals.
They're having children pour bleach on their arms and then light their arms on fire.
All for the purpose of gaining notoriety within the network. The indictment says 764 members share a guide with instructions on extortion, blackmailing victims to create content, threatening to release images to family and friends if they don't. That included a minor in Maryland, according to the indictment.
They work on the most vulnerable. They find the ones who are lonely, who don't have a family or a strong family, who are alone after school, and they use extortion as a form of discipline to little girls who might not have a father at home.
One of the named defendants, Prasant Napal, pleaded not guilty. News 4 reached out to his attorney for any comment, but did not hear back.
This defendant right now that we've got in D.C. is facing life in prison if he is found guilty of the crimes within which we include in our indictment. These are horrific acts.
Pirro says the second defendant, a U.S. citizen, resides in Greece. He has not been extradited, but she says faces charges there. An attorney is not listed for him. According to data from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, most victims in these types of cases, 75%, are 14 to 17 years old, 21%, 11 to 13. Pirro says all parents need to talk with their kids about this threat and be aware of what they're doing online.
Do they keep me up at night? Some do. They would keep any human being up at night if that human being were normal. But when you do the work that we do, we deal with the lowest of the low.
Last month, a federal grand jury indicted a 20-year-old Maryland man for alleged crimes against 3 girls. Investigators say he had ties to 764. So what can parents do? The FBI says monitor your kids' online activities, look for fresh cuts or bruises or sudden behavior and appearance changes, including wearing long sleeves or pants in unusual circumstances, such as warm weather. I'm Tracy Wilkins for NBC News.
Tracy Wilkins, thank you. One of the best in Washington right there. Tracy Wilkins, thank you. NBC News covers hundreds of stories each day, and you know it's awfully tough to read, watch, or listen to them all. So our regional bureau teams have picked some highlights. We call this segment The Local. From our Midwest Bureau, one person is still missing after that massive St. Louis fire that we told you about last week. Flames ripped through 4 vacant warehouses. Firefighters believe an unhoused man may be buried under that debris, and several agencies are now part of the search. From our Western Bureau, a beloved albino alligator. Make that albino alligator. I have a friend named Albino. Albino alligator at the San Francisco Museum. He passed away at the age of 30. And you might recognize Claude from children's books and even ads at bus and light rail stations. The California Academy of Sciences says Claude captivated hearts for about 17 years. They plan to hold a public memorial in the near future for Claude. From our Washington, D.C. bureau, take a look at the mess after a break-in at a Virginia liquor store. There's the suspect. Caught on camera, a raccoon passed out on the floor after getting into hundreds of dollars worth of alcohol. Check out this brand new surveillance video now of the trashed panda in the act. Local animal control say the raccoon was safely released back to the wild after sleeping off his, oh wait, just hold on, he's wobbling. He had to sleep off a rather wild and intoxicating night. Coming up from us, it is one of the world's greatest aviation mysteries. Is it now closer to finally being solved? What we're learning about the new push to find flight MH370. All right, this evening we are hearing of a new push to solve one of the world's great aviation mysteries. Later this month, an American company is again going to search for the wreckage of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. And you'll surely remember, the Boeing 777 bound from Malaysia to Beijing vanished from radar shortly after takeoff back in 2014, 239 people on board. Satellite data showed that it took a turn from its flight path, and it was suddenly going south into the far southern Indian Ocean. And some debris has, in fact, washed ashore off Madagascar and on Reunion Island. The bulk of the plane, though, and its passengers remain missing. We want to bring in NBC aviation analyst Jeff Guzzetti to talk about all of this. He's a current NBC analyst, former NTSB and FAA investigator. Jeff, you and I talked about this briefly on the phone. This isn't the first try to find this plane, and Ocean Infinity is trying again now that the weather has improved down there. But does it have a real chance of success this time?
I'm not sure, Tom. That's a great question. Ocean Infinity is going to try for the second time. Their first attempt was in 2018, and that was after a Australian government attempt years before that. So this is the third search attempt, the second for Ocean Infinity. It's in waters that are roughly 5 miles deep, but they seem to have decided that there's certain key areas that they think the wreckage might lie, and they're going to go after them with the assets that they have.
So, while you're on the topic of how deep this wreckage might be, if it is in fact there, and satellite pings would suggest that is in fact where it is, in that area about 5,800 square miles off of Australia, if it is there and it's 4 to 5 miles deep, is there any hope of ever recovering it?
It is like finding a needle in a haystack. So,
and by the way, it's in a mountain range, right? It's in a mountain range that's described as an underwater Swiss kind of high country.
That's correct. If you can imagine a mountain range submerged in 5 miles of water, that's the kind of terrain, the ocean subsurface that they need to find this thing. The challenge, I think, is to find it, right? So they're going to use side scan sonar that you see there. They're going to be towing that. They'll use a number of remote operated bathyspheres that go very deep. And if they can actually pinpoint the wreckage or paint something that looks like wreckage, well, then, they'll have to very meticulously raise that wreckage, or at least get the flight recorders to try to solve this 11-year-old mystery.
Yeah, if physically they can. Let me ask you this. We've always had this chatter about the theories, the speculation, the rumors about what happened here to the plane. What do you believe is the most prominent and likely scenario?
In my mind, Tom, and it's just my opinion based on everything I know, I think this was an intentional act, right? I think one of the flight crew, probably the first officer, took this airplane away from its flight path, perhaps killed the crew by asphyxiating the crew. I just don't know, but it just seems to be an intentional act to me. It does not have the earmarks of any kind of mechanical malfunction. There were no Mayday calls. In fact, there's evidence that transponders were turned off from the cockpit. Yeah. So it's, in my mind, it's intentional.
Well, we will watch closely. Again, they're going to start the search again towards the end of the month. Jeff Guzzetti, thanks very much. Still to come from us, the Olympic flame officially on the move. We're following its journey from Greece to Italy ahead of the Winter Games. Stay with us. Right, right now, we want to talk about the Olympic flame on what organizers call the greatest journey, making its way to Italy. It is set to arrive in Rome just a few hours from now after being formally lit in Greece last week. The flame will then do a tour around Italy before reaching its final destination. Now, the 2026 Winter Games, of course, are going to be in Milan Cortina. The torch is carrying with it years of Olympic history and tradition, making this moment so much more than just a lighting. NBC's Claudia Lavagna explains in the breakdown.
The Olympic torch on the road again. Last Wednesday, it was lit in an ancient ritual, marking the beginning of the Olympic journey from Olympia in Greece to Italy, where the torch arrives this week. On Saturday, its final journey will start from here at the Stadio dei Marmi, the Stadium of Marbles in Rome.
There are 60 statues here, each representing a different sport, including, of course, winter disciplines like skiing. From here, the torch will be carried through some of Rome's most iconic landmarks: the Vatican, the Trevi Fountain, the Colosseum, and Piazza del Popolo, one of Rome's biggest squares.
Then, for the next 2 months, 10,001 torchbearers will carry the flame across the country to its final destinations, Cortina and Milan, the two host cities of the Winter Games. But with it, torchbearers will also carry the weight of its history. The Olympic torch was introduced by Nazi Germany during the 1936 Games in Berlin. After World War II, it became a symbol of peace and unity and provided memorable moments from every corner in the world. From the Olympic cauldron lit by an archer in Barcelona to the flame reaching new heights in the hands of a ski jumper in Norway. And of course, the unforgettable moment Muhammad Ali fought against Parkinson's disease to lit the flame in Atlanta. A true symbol of enduring Olympic spirit and resilience. Claudio Lavagna, NBC News, Rome.
Yep, that's a wrap for this hour. The coverage resumes right now on NBC News Now. Stay with us.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.